JavaScript array methods in a few minutes or less. In today's video, we're going to be going over sort. The sort method in JavaScript is used to sort the elements of an array in place, which means it modifies the original array directly without creating a new one. It arranges the elements in ascending order by default, which makes it great for using on strings or numbers. But devs, before we look at any code, here are a few quick facts about sort. Number one is in-place modification. The sort method sorts the elements of an array in place, which means it directly modifies the original array and does not create a new one. That's right, it does not create a new array like other methods like map, so something to keep in mind. Number two is the default data type. By default, the sort method sorts elements as strings. If you have an array of numbers, it will sort them as strings, leading to unexpected results. So to sort numbers correctly, you need to provide a comparison function. Fortunately, the JavaScript engine is smart and internally converts the elements to numbers for us, even though they are initially treated as strings. But I'll be going over all of that here in a minute. Also, speaking of that function, number three, the comparison function. You can pass a comparison function as an argument to the sort method. This function determines the sorting order by returning negative, 0, or positive values. So if the result is negative, A is sorted before B. If it's positive, B will come before A. And lastly, if the result is 0, no changes are applied. Number four is ascending order. The default sorting order is ascending, so from lowest to highest. To sort in descending order, you need to modify your comparison function to reverse the order of the results. And I'll show you exactly how to do that here in a few seconds. It's way simpler than you think. And lastly, number five, stable sort. The sort method in modern JavaScript engines generally uses a stable sorting algorithm. A stable sort maintains the relative order of equal elements in the sorted array. This just means if two elements have equal values, their original order will be preserved in the new sorted array. All right, devs, let's look at some code. Okay, so we have the array numbers here, which is just an array of 5 numbers. And we're using the let keyword here to define our variable because we're assuming that the value of this variable is going to change, which it is. And I have an entire video on the differences between let, const, and var that you can check out, and I will link that down in the description. But since we have reference to numbers here, let's say we want to sort numbers in ascending order 1 to 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can grab numbers, type that down here, hit it with our sort method. Sort takes that callback function. And sort takes 2 parameters that we're going to use in our comparison function. And typically we can just call those A and B. So now that we have reference to A and B here, we can use that down in the body of our function. And we're going to want to return this. And we want to return A minus B. And these are the 2 elements from the array that are going to be compared against one another. And we're going to be using subtraction. And since we're dealing with numbers, it's just going to be doing a little bit of basic math here. And as mentioned before, if it returns a negative value, that's going to indicate that the first string should come before the second. If it returns a positive value, that will indicate that the first string should come after the second. And if it returns 0, then there are no changes applied. So we want to log this to the console, but let's create a reference for everything that we have here and just store everything here in a variable. We'll do const, we'll call it sorted numbers. Let's log sorted numbers to the console. And that's looking good. Let's open that up. And of course we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the ascending order that we wanted. So yeah, this is ascending order. But what if we want to reverse this? What if we want to do descending order? Like mentioned before, it's actually way simpler than you think. You basically just have to reverse the order of your comparison function from AB to BA, and that will give us our 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And to clean this up a bit, you know we're using arrow functions here, so we can use the concise syntax and get everything nicely on one line. So we can drop our return keyword, bump that up, get rid of our curly braces, get rid of our extra semicolon, and because we have more than one parameter, in this case 2, we have to keep our parentheses, but this is the concise syntax. It's looking nice, everything's on one line, and we still have the intended result. So that was one simple example with sort. Let's look at another. So in this example, we're working with an array of strings called fruits, and let's say for whatever reason we want to take fruits and sort all of the strings of fruits alphabetically. So we have reference to fruits here, so we can take fruits, type that down here, hit it with our sort method. Sort takes that callback function. Similar to the previous example, we're going to do a comparison function, right? So we're going to do A and B as our parameters to compare. And we of course want to return our result. And we want to return A compared against B, but how? Since we're dealing with strings, we're going to use something called local compare. And that looks like this. Local compare is a method baked into JavaScript, and we pass into it the thing that we want to compare, which in our case is B. And all this local compare method really does is it's just a baked-in method in JavaScript to compare two strings and return a numeric value. And like we just saw in our previous example, if that value that is returned is negative, that will indicate that the first string should come before the second. If it returns a positive value, then the first string should come after the second. And if it returns a 0, then absolutely no changes are applied. And as you can see here in our editor and the tooltip, it gives you a similar description. It basically just determines whether two strings are equivalent or not. So now that we have all this, let's create a reference to it in a variable. We'll call it const sorted strings. And let's log sorted strings to the console. And there we have it, looking good. Let's open that up and we get apple, banana, cherry, date, mango. A, B, C, D, and M comes after D, obviously. So these are sorted alphabetically. And there you have it. And similar to the previous example, if you want to reverse this order alphabetically, it is the same deal as before. We can simply swap the positions of our comparison function for our parameters, and we'll get these in reverse order. But let's put that back to ascending order, which is the default. And you know, why not? We're working with arrow functions here. Let's just get everything nice and clean and on one line. Drop our return keyword, drop our curly braces, drop that extra semicolon, and there we have it. We have the same results. And that's about it. That is the sort array method in JavaScript. Hopefully that this helps. This one can definitely come in handy on, say, job interviews where they're asking you to sort data in a particular fashion. So definitely keep this one in mind and on hand. That about does it, devs. If you enjoyed this, click event that like button. Feeling chatty, definitely leave a comment. And as always, if you want to support the channel, go ahead and